Good evening, everyone. Wow, I think today we have a wide variety of audience here. The youngest one, how old? 6 years old? Oh, okay. Well, welcome. Last week we stopped at the last phrase of at home, be good to parents. 就是父母教须顺父母责须顺承 When our parents reproach us, we should listen to them respectfully. So today, we're going to continue on. But first of all, I would like to actually bring to your attention the difference between two ways of looking at life. Now, from the Western individualistic type of life, it consists like that. Now we can break it into, let's say we divide, whoa, important point. We divide into, one is Western, one is Eastern way of looking at life. Okay. And we're talking about a life plan here. And we can divide our life into three parts. One is our childhood. And we reach middle age. And then old age. Now we're going to compare the ancient way of looking at life and our contemporary way of looking at our life, how to plan our whole life. Now in the Western style, when you are a child, you enjoy. You're supposed to enjoy as much as you like, and you're being loved dearly, by the adults. So your childhood life is like heaven. So what we're having now, when a child steps into a room, all the attentions will be placed on this child. Okay? And if we have anything good to eat, we'll give the child first. Everything nice to play, we give it to the child first. If it's cold, the first person we attend to will be the child. So the child is the king and the queen of the family. They totally enjoy all the attentions from the adults. And this child is being groomed in an environment of individualism that they do not share, especially when the children of a family is becoming less and less. Used to be we have big families. It's very common to have 6 or 8 people, family members. Like me, we have 11, one football team. Okay? But now most people will only have 2 to 3. They don't need to share and make concessions or do forbearance, means round. How many times our parents have asked the elders to round the younger ones? Always, 要让. Like for instance, when I was in primary school, my elder sister came back from school, and I saw her textbooks, the beautiful textbooks with beautiful pictures. So I took her picture book. I didn't know how to read. I was only, I think, 6 years old. And then I shred the book. Piece by piece, I shred the book. And my sister was very upset. Yeah! She screamed and cried. Then my mother said, she is still young. 她还小嘛，很些嘛, okay? So let it go. Okay? So I was rather happy about it. I felt that I won the battle. Then years later, when I moved into high school, one day I came back with this clay mask that I made, which I was extremely pleased, and I think I could get a prize for it. It was a clay mask, a mask made from clay. Then I put it on the table in the living room, and I went to the room. Then I heard this. Ah! Then I heard something dropped. I rushed out and saw my brother, my youngest brother, drop the mask on the floor. My heart smashed into pieces, just like those mud. I said, how could you do that? You're so X. Okay? Then my mother came and she said, he's still young. You let go. This is what I call karma. Okay? What comes around, comes around. Okay? So it's always round. So we have to round. Okay? 5 sisters share one room. 3 brothers share one room. We have to share everything. Okay? So, but the Western way of looking thing is, you are an individual. You have your own room. You have your own iPad. Children have iPads. And they all say, I have my iPad. They also have their cell phone. Everything they own, they have their own property. Have you heard your child ever say that this iPhone is actually bought by my parents? They will stop saying that. They will just say, my room, my house, my car, my phone. They forget that none of these is his. But he said, my. So ever since he was a little girl, little boy, he understands this word called my. Before, it was us. Our time was us, we. To him, my. Okay? So he lives in a heavenly frame of mind. Okay? Then, come middle age, there comes what? Competition. He's being thrown into an environment where he has to fight to survive. So life becomes a battlefield. Everybody have to fight to gain money. That's why we have this term called what? Rat race. You are like a rat moving very fast to find food. That's called rat race. Right? Nobody is at calm here. You always say you want to kill your competitors. Okay? You want to make sure you get rid of your competitors. Now, how many of us, when we do business, we consider our competitors as our friends? Not many, right? How many of us will say, well, let's give him some business too. We don't need to have all the business to ourselves. But I have a boss who was like that. He said, keep our competitors alive because customers can compare and they bring in the traffic. Because customers like to shop around for bargain, so they will go to the other company, the other store for bargain. If they can't find what they want, they come to our store, or they simply come to our store to compare. So why should we kill our competitors? Say, welcome competitors. I remember Walmart, before they came into Canada, we studied them years ahead. So when they came, actually we welcomed them. A lot of retailers were scared of them. And we totally welcomed them because they brought in a lot of traffic for us. In a small town where there was little traffic because of Walmart, they brought in traffic from neighboring towns. So it's actually very welcoming for us. Something which was seen as bad was being turned around. I was the purchaser. I think in Malaysia it's called buyer or purchasing. I was a buyer for clothing and shoes and daily necessities in Canada. And I found that it was really a good practice. You don't kill your competitors, you keep them alive. So that we can actually help each other. And we equally make lots of money. And we also thought about the fact that they also have employees. If they go out of business, the people will go out of work. That's not too good. We might have, got more business, but there are actually people who will be unemployed. So because of this, the word 人, say people and two people. That means as you think about yourself, you think about the others too. So in this Chinese word, 人 is called benevolent. That means you must be compassionate for other people. Okay? The more you're compassionate for other people, the more you get the benefit. The important thing is you must make sure you are good. So we knew we were good because our customers come first. One of the policies that we had was, as long as you hold your receipt, if the goods ever you bought from our store is what you call defective, you can bring it back. No questions asked. But in Malaysia, if you do that, I think they will ask you a lot of questions because they assume that you are cheating. But over in our store, we never ask any questions. It could be 3 months, even 6 months. Okay? If you have your receipt, you can prove that you bought it from our store. We return the goods to you, even cash. So, as other people are getting like poor business, our stores did really well. I think it is now over 100 stores now, franchise. Okay? If I had stayed there long enough, I think I've been a millionaire already, just like the other buyers. Okay? But I like Malaysia. But we are being taught to compete, to kill the others, to rise above the water. Okay? So we always say busy, 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 busy. How many of you are not busy here? Everyone is busy. But if I ask you further, what are you busy about? Can you tell me? Sometimes we really cannot recall what are we busy about. We're just busy, 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 busy. So if your son or your daughter would like you to accompany them a little bit more, what would you say? I'm busy. Busy doing what? Doing something, usually related to making money. Okay? So we're always very busy because we don't balance our life between our family life and our business life, because we're always busy. I think what we forgot is we missed out on a lot of things, which we're going to compare over to this side. Right? Now, as you become old, you are competing all the way up. Competition leads to what? Leads to war, right? And then war leads to what? Destruction. So you don't get many friends, but you make a lot of enemies, and including the children who you have neglected, children who you have forgotten how to bring them up properly. So when you become old, as you reach old age, what we describe as your life is like a graveyard. You are lonely. But you say, no, I'm preparing for my pension now. How many of you are preparing your pension? Okay, I rephrased the question. How many of you believe that your children will take care of you when you are old? And you raise your hands. Not even one. We need to study 弟子规, okay? Are your children in the other classes? Okay, you have hopes, don't worry. Now, I was in Vietnam and I was talking to the members of the group. One of them told me, she said, I don't expect my children to take care of me when I'm old. So I'm prepared now. I will make sure I live in a luxurious old folks' home. I will have old friends, literally old friends. Okay? I don't need my children to take care of me. Now, she said it very lightly, but in actual fact, we all know that parents do care about their children. It means a lot if your children come and see you. As I remember, my mom was lying in the hospital bed. We went to see her. She was very upset, so we asked our eldest brother what happened. She said, oh, well, the doctor came in this morning. He asked, Mom, where are your children? Why come they are not here? How come they are not here? She got very upset over that comment. Right? So she didn't say anything, but she was just brooding, why we were late. Right? So we know that actually parents do like to see us, right? Although they don't say it. And I'm sure you feel the same way too, that you like to see your children to come and see you, okay, when you were older. Remember the Petronas ad? There were a group of old ladies playing mahjong in the old folks' home. And they say, oh, my son is an accountant. My son is a lawyer. And they were like boasting away how successful their children were, except one lady who didn't say anything. And then suddenly she became very happy. She saw something. What did she see? She saw Proton Saga. Not a BMW, not a Mercedes, not a four-wheel drive, but just a normal middle-class Proton Saga driving with a pregnant daughter-in-law and a very happy grandson and son and his wife. They were so happy to see the granny and the mom. And they were going to pick her up and go back, go out for a spin or go to home. The other lady suddenly quiet down. Where are my lawyer's children? Where are my accountant's children? All this so-called money is incomparable to a Proton Saga and very simple lifestyle. So you live a life, you may have a lot of money, you may prepare a lot of money for your retirement, in terms of sickness. Why do we prepare so much money for medication? Number one, you don't trust your children to take care of you, right? Number two, it seems like we have more sickness today. The more money we have, but the more sickness we seem to have. Now, cancer was really heard of even 40, 50 years ago. But nowadays, we kept hearing people having cancer. Cancer this, cancer that. And mental depression. We also seldom heard about mental depression. If there was ever a suicide case, our whole street will be uproar. What? Why? What happened? Now, if there's a suicide, well, another suicide. We're becoming very uncaring, very nonchalant about these things. So, as you grow older, it seems that nobody cares. And if your mother has to go to the hospital for several times, and if she wants to ask you to take her, it seems like everybody is trying to push to another person because they will say, I am busy. Okay? So what kind of life is that you are busy? Because we forgot that we will grow old one day. We all will. It is inescapable. And who could be dearer than your children? Okay? So that's why the Eastern philosophy on this side have a totally different perspective about life. Number one, when a child is small, that's the time for him to cultivate the blessings. So he is here to cultivate the fields of blessing. Fields in the Chinese is written like this. Isn't that a wonderful word? Doesn't that look like a field? Rice field. Okay. And you put another word on top, it's called fu tian. From 小就培养他的培福田. So what does he do? The biggest field of blessing that a child can do is to be respectful and be good to the parents. 报父母恩是最大的福田。Why cultivate the field of blessing, be good to parents, is the biggest merit, we can do. Now, parents are two very interesting people of our life. Parents are the individuals who will love us unconditionally. Of course, you won't believe that, right? Would anybody believe this? Parents will love you unconditionally. Yes, right? They will love us unconditionally. Somebody was telling me, Principal Lee was telling me, he said when his son was younger, they will ask him, where are you going? When are you coming back? Then he found that now his son is almost 25 years old. His wife still asks that, where are you going? When are you coming back? So he said, I have to remind my wife that, hey, your son is already a pilot. He flies a jet plane. He doesn't need to report to you when you're coming back. Okay? But we know that a mother is always a mother. One day, if you are 80 years old, your 100 years old mother will still ask you to have breakfast. Have you taken your breakfast? Have you taken your meal? Are you feeling well? There always will be your mother. You're always a little girl, little boy inside their mind. And parents do not ask actually a lot from children. Mind you, the children do not think that way. Children think that parents ask a lot from them. But in actual fact, parents don't. The only thing they ask and keep asking about the children is their health. How is your health? Okay? You can try this, okay? Let's say you have a very difficult mother. You have a very difficult mother, okay? And she was arguing with you, okay? You try this, okay? You say, Mom, I have this headache. My head is pounding. I'm not feeling well. You will see her reaction. Why? What happened? What's wrong? She'll quickly turn her attention to your physical wellness. As I tried many times on my mom. Yeah, I know my mom. Yeah, my mom, right? She will complain a lot, so I said, 頭痛啊媽，條口痛啊。So my痛. Why? What happened? You didn't sleep well? What did you eat recently? I don't know, just headache. I didn't want to tell her you gave me the headache. That's a headache. Then she said, oh, okay. You better go and see a doctor. I said, yeah, okay. I will see a doctor. Then peace was maintained. Okay. So they don't ask a lot, actually. But you say, no, they ask a lot of money from the children. Is that so, really? No, actually, they give us a lot more than we give them. I always like mathematics, okay? You calculate how many years of food, how many years of transportation, how many years of rent you owe your parents, according to present rates. You know how much we owe our parents? I think millions of dollars. And how much do we give to parents? Not too much, okay? Because we also have families, we have our own life, we want to entertainment and so on. But parents, they don't think so much about themselves. It's amazing, the education fee that parents have to pay nowadays to bring up their children. Especially, it almost be very fashionable to send children to overseas. As if you have a child to overseas, you are sort of higher, you have more credibility and so on. It's so expensive to send children to overseas. And even if they don't go to overseas, they attend the training schools, the college, they're still not very cheap. They're also very expensive. And they will get the very late models of iPhone, for instance, but you will still be using the old models. All the handphones, Samsung or whatever, you'll be using the old phones, but they will always have the latest phone. Am I right so far? You give your children old phones?
Yeah, old phones.
Good for you. You know, give them the type of old phone that they only need to switch on, switch off, make calls, and SMS. That's it. Don't give them like smartphone. They do a lot of funny things on smartphone. Okay? And you won't believe all the apps you can get on the phone nowadays. It can become a walkie-talkie. You know that? Oh, I recently found that they can become walkie-talkie. You can basically play on your phone all day long. Hello, how are you? You stop. I'm fine. Then you stop. Oh, it's amazing. And you can send pictures, you can send videos. That's why our colleague, Miss Lina, told us it's very hard to catch people from what we call cheating during examination, because they have ways to use this digital device. And they even have a little device that looks like an eraser. It looks like an eraser, but it's actually a digital gadget that they can give you. You get answer, from this digital thing. But we, are spoiling our children with all this. So, but on the other hand, while we worry for the children seldom worry about us. Okay? So if we cannot be nice to our parents, we are actually what we call reducing our merits and our fortune. Because if we are good to our parents, we sow a lot of good seeds. Okay? And we found that people who are good to their parents turn out to be very good workers, very good citizens, very good teachers, students, bosses, whatever they do. Okay, you can evaluate this for all the people around you. All the 孝子, okay, are good people. Okay? Except for that kind of 孝子 who only have mother in their mind but nobody else. Oh, I have seen people like that too. Okay? That's why 弟子规 have to add in chapter 5. You love all equally too. Okay? And make sure if our parents have faults, we must advise them, okay? So which we'll go in later on. So to compare, contrast to the Western style, the cultivate the fields of blessing is the Eastern way. And the most important things that a child must learn is filial piety, which is this magical word called 孝. Because in this 孝, speak of two words, 老 means old, 子 means the younger ones or the child. Okay? It's actually a combination of two words. Okay? We get rid of this and we put them together, okay, and make out this word. It means that the old and the young, they are one. There is no generation gap. That we are actually bound by a tie, a relationship which is very natural. Okay? When a child is born, you love them. Okay? And when a child is born, she and he loves you. Okay? There's a very natural relationship between human beings. So, 孝. So we teach the children to be filial to their parents, and we also teach them to be respectful of old people. Be filial to our parents and be respectful of our elders. Okay? And also be respectful of teachers. Do you find it warm here? Can we cool it a little bit? Thank you. So the education triangle, unlike the Western style, which ever since a child is young, we teach them a lot of things, broad learning, right? And then they become what we call specialties, as they grow older. The Eastern style is, this is the West, this is the East. The Western style is a child must first learn one thing, which is filial to their parents and elders and respectful of the teachers. Okay. Be good to their brothers and sisters. They must first learn this. After they learn this, then they go out and continue to learn more and more, as the maturity will help them to learn more. So unlike our present system, they don't need to do mathematics in such an early age. They can do mathematics when they were standard 4 or standard 5 and learn English when they were in standard 6. They just have to learn, for the Chinese, just learn Chinese. One subject a year, no other subjects. They concentrate and focus on one subject only. So school is very happy for those children. And they don't need to study that many subjects a year. Our children's little brain, every 35 minutes have to switch. Every 35 minutes have to switch. 35 minutes Malay, then 35 minutes English, then 35 minutes Chinese, then 35 minutes mathematics, and then geography and science. In the end of the day, they all get mixed up. So they have to push knowledge into the brain. But if in their older times they concentrate on morals, ethics, and one subject at a time, their mind is very clear. So the Chinese way, or rather the Asian way, it's 先学做人，然后来学做事，要学做人， and how to learn relationship. And how about children? How many of our children do housework? Do you let your children do housework? Okay, 4 to 6 years, 4 years old is a bit young. Primary school. Your children are in primary school. Do you allow them to do housework? Yes? No. What about teenagers? Do you allow teenagers to do housework? Yes? Not many, not. I think you all have kakak at home. So, every Mother's Day, I don't know if you have this or not, we were asked to write essay about mother. And we all wrote the same thing, right? What are the same things? Now, is your mother beautiful or ugly? Beautiful, right? We'll put my mother is very beautiful. And now, is your mother hardworking or lazy? Very hardworking. Is your mother a good cook? Yes, every mother is good cook. And does your mother understand you? Yes, my mother understands me. Is your mother the greatest mom in the world? Yes, my mom is the greatest mom of the world. Everything that is not true to your heart, but we all write the same thing. My mom was plump, or I say my mom was beautiful, and so on. And one of my students, she could not produce an essay. So her auntie, who was sitting in the same class, actually cut a piece of newspaper with an article about 我的母亲, my mother. Okay? So her auntie asked her, why don't you just read from the newspaper? Teacher Song, can she just read it? Does it count? I said, yeah, it counts. She can read. So she reads, my mother is very beautiful. My mother's body is very shapely. My mother is a good cook. And my mother understands me very well. And my mother is very hardworking. Then at this point, she looked at me. Actually, my mother didn't do that. 我妈妈没有哦。And then her auntie's face was absolutely white. I said, 没有啊，没有哦。I said, how about vacuum the floor? Gak do that. My mom didn't do that. You see, the child was very honest. It was the adult who was teaching her to bluff. So, yeah. Also, we all have these things about this stereotypical mom, but we all know that we love mom, okay, because they sacrifice so much for us. So for here, from this respectfulness, okay, we carry this respectfulness to our work. So when we go on to work, using this kind of attitude, 人 our middle age is actually to create opportunity. To create opportunity for people to do what? To cultivate blessings and good fortune. This word which the Chinese love, 福, 好有福. But actually, what is 福? 福是什么? What do you consider as a good fortune? Yes. What do you consider as good fortune? Healthy, yes. Healthy is a good fortune. You have your health. You're healthy. Okay, and what is good fortune? 福係咩嚟㗎? No tragedy, no suffering. You are what we call peaceful. Very tranquil. Right? Okay. Healthy, I'm tranquil. Yes. Is there anything else? When people say 好有福氣啊, you have love, okay? Love will give you this peaceful and tranquility because you feel love. So your mind is very peaceful. Yes. What else can we say 福? 係啊，如果你福都唔知做咩，我一日到黑都去揾求福咧、求福咧、求籤咧。We go to the temple in the Chinese New Year time to pray to have fortune. Huh? So we must know what fortune is. Okay, we have two types of aspects, two good fortune here, and there are at least three more. 所以有一個 dish 叫做五福臨門啊，五福臨門啊。So the 5 fortunes in the cold place, the first dish that they serve in a gala dinner. So I think 3 more. It's important. We all want it, especially Chinese. Huh? What? Money. Yes. Wealth. We love wealth. Nobody wants to be poor. We all love money. We want wealth, richness, healthy, peace, tranquil wealth. Okay, yes. Any more? Children. Okay, children, all this will give you wealth. Children is a wealth. It's richness to your life. Right? Good. And everybody wants this. Actually, by the way, not everybody wants children. Very troublesome. That's why parents are great people. The kind of things that parents have to put up with children, only parents could do it. Like recently, one of our staffs just given birth. It's hard to sleep. It's hard to eat. You know, only parents would do this kind of sacrifice for children. Okay, so but one more. Don't you all want that? Longevity. Right? if you have your health, peaceful, well, but you don't have longevity, how to enjoy it? 你講長命百歲啊嘛，nobody want 短命冇歲嚇。Okay? So 福壽康寧 ，okay? 富貴。Then the last one. What is the last one? That you are virtuous. A virtuous person will get the other four because he knows how to build good relationship. So So the 五福, for those of you who can read Chinese,富貴康寧長壽好德Actually, I have 健康安寧 These five. Okay. That's why there's a dish called 五福臨門, the 5 good fortune. We got everything here. So, how do we create opportunities for people to obtain all this? It's 3 types of things. One, we do charity, donations. The more you give, the more you get. Okay? And secondly, console people. That means give them assurance, consolation, to make sure they don't have to be fearful. Okay? Always make them feel they are safe, make them feel good. Okay? And the thirdly is to talk about good things to them, things that can help them to lead a better life. So these 3 things is called 財、法、無畏。布施。That means if you want money, if you want wealth, you give more wealth to other people. You create jobs, you create opportunities for other people to make money. And then if you want to have intelligence, if you want to be able to know the wisdom, how to do things, you always talk good things and spread good words for other people. For instance, encourage them to learn 弟子规. That's a good 法布施. Encourage them to be good people. Now, if you are doing business, if you have to entertain clients, and if their clients keep on wanting to spend, time with you until it's late at night, what can you tell this client? He wants to dance, he wants to drink, and he wants to hang on until 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. What can you do? What sort of 法布施 you can give him? What kind of 法布施 you can give him? I guess you don't do business, huh? Okay, say your friend now, okay? Say your friend. And he wants to enjoy himself or herself, he doesn't want to go home, and he just wants to hang around and keep drinking. Now we can tell that person, it's actually quite late at night. I think your family may worry about you. It is time, it's a good time for us to go. Okay? And if you are drunk, you go home, you vomit, it's not very good for your family. Your children will get worried, your children will get the wrong example. Okay? So we should go back. And he said, no, I don't want to go. I hate my family. I want to go. So why do you hate your family? Your family is good. It's important to have a family. So he starts telling of all the rotten things that happen in his family. Okay? But for every rotten thought he has for his family, you turn him back to positiveness. Always think about the positive things about a family. Okay? Don't ever let them have the inclination, okay, to move further and further away. And if you said, there is no love in my family, what happens if somebody tells you they have no love in the family? What should we do? Nina, what can we do? Because 法布施啊, the more dharma, the more good words we spread.
If there's nobody loves you, at least your parents will love you.
Okay, at least your parents will love you. What happens if your parents don't love you?
Okay, you can love yourselves.
We can love ourselves. Yes. Okay, you respect yourself. You love yourself. You don't go and damage yourself. Okay? And if other people don't love you, can you love them? Can you? Of course you can. My friend one day was very upset because she was waiting for her boyfriend to call her. She was sitting next to the telephone. She kept looking at the clock, looking at her watch. She kept saying, why is he not calling yet? Why is he not calling yet? I couldn't stand it anymore, so I asked her, why don't you call him? If you like to talk to him so much, why don't you call him? He said, no, he should call me first. I said, well, okay, then you wait. Okay. If you really want to call somebody, if you really care about him so much, you call him first. And you really, if you want to, the love, why don't you love them first? You extend your generosity first. But you say, I have very difficult colleagues. One of the things we find actually very workable is you give them some sweets, some snacks, or care about them a little bit. Ask them, how are you doing? Okay? And give them some gifts. It's always good to give gifts. Okay? Trust me. If you have enemies, give them some gifts. Even your competition, if you see them, hello, how are you? They will absolutely appall. Okay? The worse enemies you have, the nicer you are to them. Okay? But of course, you're also nice to your nice people. So don't have any animosity inside you. Just treat every day as a positive day. It's good to live. Okay? Encourage using all these good words for our friends and for our families. So for this, okay, we can do it anywhere. Okay, always be positive and help people to stay positive. And you will find that the more you give this kind of good talks, you become more and more intelligent, you have more wisdom. Some of the problems that you cannot solve today, you will have the intelligence to solve them. Okay? It's hard to say why, but you try it. Okay? Now the third one is 无畏布施. If we want longevity, we always must make sure we don't cause troubles to other people. But instead, always console other people. If they are sick, go and look after them or ask about them. Okay? And if they are worried, calm them down, okay, by using your experience, your ability, the trust they have in you. Always console people. And you will get longevity this way. 所以财布施得财富，法布施得聪明智慧，无畏布施得健康长寿。Okay? Not by seeing more doctors, not by spending more time on figuring out how to make money, and not by being stingy about what you know. Okay? As teachers, I find that the more I give to students, the more I get in return. Okay? And you will find that as parents, the more you give to your children in leading them to the moral way, the more you will get back in return. Right? So don't be stingy about it. So you can create all kinds of opportunities, when you lead it this way. Then as you get older, you become an asset. Asset means you are a good thing to have around. At this time, you actually turn it, you are heavenly. Because you have wisdom. You are a very wise old person who everybody likes. We don't want to be an old man or old woman who nobody likes. If you lead a life this way, you very easily become a cranky old man, a very cranky old woman that no children or no other people would like to stay close to you. But if you cultivate your life this way, you are a very wise old person who people like to come to you for advice. Okay, so you become that kind of granny who your grandchildren like, your children like you, and they like to all stay with you. Okay. You see our guiding master, Master Ching Kong, he is 86 years old. He's 86 years old, and people love to talk to him. And in fact, if they have a chance just to be close to him or just take a look at him, they feel that they have lived this life worth coming to this life. Right? Because he was a very wise person. He has answers, he has advices, he gave us talk, he can help us to enlighten our life. And I find that if I ever get stuck, I just switch on his Dharma talk, it will make me feel better. Like one time, I couldn't let go. Okay, I was very uptight about something that somebody said. So I just simply, switch on a Dharma and switch on. The first thing I heard was, guess what? Let go. I said, 放下. Huh? 放下. Let go. Say, let go of all your anger. Let go of all your greediness. Let go of all your doubts. Let go of all your arrogance. It's amazing, isn't it? So I heard, let go of all this. He said, what is this? The life is like traveling. We are just like tourists. We hop from one airport to another airport. We are like a tourist watching life goes by. People come, people go. And so are we. We hop on the plane, we go to another place, and from another place, we come back. We're just traveling. There's nothing we can hold on to. Okay? So words like that. So he became a very valuable commodity. Everywhere he goes, people love to, ask advice from him, and he has really everything. He had no concept of money because he doesn't bring money with him. All the money, they have people following him and give him, and if he ever buy things, he would do this: take out a whole chunk of money, go ma. Is this enough? Because he has no concept. Okay? And he always believed in giving. If you have money, he said, give. Give it for good causes. There's no point keeping it. Okay? Because to keep it, it doesn't generate any positiveness. Money needs to keep on moving. That's why in the olden days, money is called dōng. It has to move. Tong, like 交通, traffic, it has to move. Okay? Tong. Tong means it is moving, it is going, it is not stuck. That's what move is. Huo is the commodity. Okay? It's the thing. It's the material thing. So it has to move. And so money needs to move. Money will generate money. But if you just keep in the bank, you only get what? Not even 1%. But if you keep on moving it, it will generate tremendous kind of good positiveness. So this is a big difference between the Eastern way of looking at life and Western way of looking at life. So when you are a child, you have to work. You have to learn how to be disciplined, how to be respectful. And then when you become middle age, you also accumulate all kinds of knowledge and abilities to create opportunities for other people to live a better life. So when you become an older person, you are a wise person who everybody would like to be with you. Right? But if you are complaining, if you're always very grouchy, nobody likes to be with you because you have not accumulated any wisdom. So over this side, the child enjoy himself when he was young, fights with each other when they are old, middle age, and they become very lonely and just waiting for the day when they have to die. Okay, so these are two entirely different mindset, okay, about life. So that's why in 弟子规, all the 弟子规 are taught, to people, to children and adults about this concept, which will help them become a better person. So last week we said the first thing we have to learn is to be good to our parents. So it further extends, how do we be good to parents? There are things that we could do. 冬则温, 夏则庆. That means in winter time, we keep the bed warm. And during summertime, we keep the bed cool, symbolically taking care of our parents' physical health. Okay, being so in that minute detail. But you say, we don't have winter here, we don't have summer here, so what should we do? What? What should we do? Which means that if they're not feeling well, maybe take them to the doctor or simply ask them, how are you feeling? Right? And so symbolically, it just means that take care of the physical well-being. And then 晨则行, 昏则定. It came from the 礼记学记, these 12 words. That means that in the morning, greet our parents. Okay? So if you still stay with your parents, the first thing you do is you say, good morning, mom, good morning, dad. So we teach your children that. Are they saying good morning to you now? Yeah? Sometimes, may I know what your child's name? I have to talk to their teachers. Okay. One of the things we insist here is these are the fundamental manners that a child has to learn. 爸爸早上好, 妈妈早上好, 婆婆早上好, 公公早上好. This is the basic manners that a child must learn. Okay. And then 昏则定, that means when the evening comes, make sure our parents are settled down and settled in, then only we go and sleep. Okay. Now that was the older days, okay? And 昏 in the older days means as soon as the sun set, it's known as 昏. Okay. But now we have light. So we're not aware of 昏 that much. Okay. And if you tell your children, now daddy and mommy will sleep first, and then you sleep later, I'm sure they are very happy. And the meaning is not like that. The meaning was the children were taught to take care of the parents first. Okay, make sure the parents are calm and tranquil. They go to sleep, and then they lock up. They have to check all the doors, all the windows. Okay, they are the ones who take care of all these things. Okay? But now, given our situation, I think you have to make sure they go to sleep first. Otherwise, you'll never be able to wake them up the next day. Okay? So, 出必告 or 出必顾, 反必面, that means when we go out, we must tell our parents where we are going. And when we come back, we must make sure they know that we have come back. And 居有常, 业无变, that means in whatever we do, we should not change our occupation or change our mind all the time, too regularly. Now, all this means we are trying to keep our parents the peace of mind. Let them not to worry about us. So we always teach the children, 妈，我现在要出去了，我要去见谁 ？Must tell the parents. And come back, must tell the mom, dad, 妈，我回来了。Okay. Then let them know that you're safe. And at this point, when we teach children this, we always remind them that why is it important to tell your parents who are you meeting, where are you going, and when you're coming back? It's actually good for the safety. Because if you're not back by what time, they will quickly go and find your whereabouts before something has happened. Okay? So we will tell them it's actually good for you. And we will tell them, stories. One of the stories that we will tell is 黄香. Now, Huang is a very common last name. It's written like this. And normally when people ask you, oh, any Huang here? 姓黄的. Our staff don't count. And it's funny, we have a lot of Huang within our staffs. In fact, in our English department, we have Huang Yongfa, Huang Li, Huang Xiuli. How many Huang? 三个 Huang. Okay, there are a lot of Huang. Huang Weizhou, a lot of Huang. Now, when I ask you, how do you describe your Huang? Your Huang sound like Wang. So they will usually ask you, 哪一个 Huang? So how do you describe Huang there, right? Okay, how do you describe your Huang? 大肚黄啊, so the big tummy Huang because of this big tummy. Okay, now I'm going to teach you a nicer way of saying your Huang. 你说我是黄香的黄. So, and then you say 江夏 Huang. So if he is a very cultured person, he will understand what you mean, 江夏 Huang. Because Huangxiang was originally from the place called Jiangxia. Okay. So you say 江夏 Huang, then they'll know that, are you related to Huangxiang, the great man Huangxiang? When Huangxiang was 9 years old, his mother passed away, but his father never remarried, which is a bit rare in the older Chinese and the China days. But his father never remarried, and Huangxiang took care of his father too. So in the winter time, before his father lay on the bed, he would put himself on the bed first. Why did he put himself on the bed? To warm up the bed. They live in the northern side. They live in those stone beds. And it can be cold during winter time. So Huangxiang would lie on the bed first to warm the bed and to warm up the mattress. It actually works. Why? Because somebody tried it on my bed. Not a man, but a hot bottle. So the hot bottle they put in my mattress, between the mattress and the blanket. When I go in, it was very warm. So that was what Huangxiang did. But there was no water bottle, hot water bottle in his days, so he used his own body. It was in Anhui, and I remember the cold can get right into my bones. It was that cold. But with that hot water bottle, my bed became very comfortable. So Huangxiang was doing that. He was only 9 years old. A 9 years old using his own body to warm up the bed for his father, because he was worried that the bed would be too cold for his father. And in the summertime, it was very hot, very warm, and Huangxiang would use a fan to cool down the breakfast for his father. And he was not a big kid at that time. He was only 9 years old. So ever since he was a little boy, he would attend to his father, do housework, and make sure that his father didn't have to worry, for him or for the house. And takes care of his father's health. That's why he became very famous for being a filial son, and he was recommended to work for the emperor. And that time it was Emperor Han He. And Han He appreciated his ability very much, and he would promote him. And for a few times he didn't want to be an officer. But Han He insisted that, so he gave him more money, he promoted him. So he went to the office and he was really did his best to improve lives for the people. He did a lot of great things. He was not only a scholar, he was also a military strategist. So he helped to ward off some border wars. So we used to think that the Chinese scholars were just scholars, right? 读死书的书呆子, 是不是? But no, all the scholars in the older days, they had to learn martial arts. It's one of the things that they had to learn. In our first class, I think Mr. Lee had talked to you about. Now, if you observe Confucius carefully, what do you see on the side? He was carrying a sword. So Confucius knew how to use a sword. Confucius was also a very good archer. That was how he actually tamed down Zilu. Zilu was a hunter. Okay, he first came and he said, well, I heard that you're very good. How good can you be? So Confucius showed him his archery, and he has great strength. Okay? So the scholars at that time have to be 文武双全. That means either in scholarship or in the military, they have to be equally as good. So for our children, is it good just to sit there and just study? Just sit there and do computers and not exercising? No, it's not good. Now, we also have to make sure the children are good at both study and also physical well-being. Okay? So give them some exercise to do. So because of that, also in 1 year, there was some superstitions going on and accused a lot of people for being devils. It was Huang Xiang who submitted the proofs that these people were not evils, but it was fully due to the witches. Okay? And that's why he saved a lot of people. So if you have an ancestor who is Huang Xiang, you are being blessed because your ancestor has saved a lot of people. And he was a very uncorruptible officer. Once he was promoted to a place as a magistrate, according to the custom, when a new magistrate comes, they would buy a lot of things, using the opportunity to buy a lot of things and use it as an excuse. Because you are a new officer, we have to buy a lot of things. But the things were actually kept by the local officers. So when he went there, he said, no, don't buy anything for me. Okay? But when he went there, he saw they already did that. So he distributed those goods to other people who need them. And there was also a custom that they would have lavish dinners, okay, to entertain the new magistrate. So again, he said, no, I don't want to have all this lavish dinner. So let's keep it simple because people are suffering. We should not spend money like that. And he was given a piece of field, okay, 很大的田. And that tian can use thousands of grains for him. But there were two things he remembered. He said, according to propriety, officer will not compete with the farmer, and so would a businessman. They will not compete with a farmer by farming the land. So he gave the land to the farmers and let them farm the land and get the revenues. Okay? So because of this, he actually lived quite a long life. Okay? And everything he could, he would help the people with his money and with his ability. And we have staff here who's actually not one but two staff whose ancestors are Huang Xiang. One of them is Robin Huang. His ancestor is Huang Xiang. You can check your 族谱. So, Madam Huang, you should go back and check your 族谱 whether your ancestor is Huang Xiang or not. And then the other, the other typical, very good illustration of this is that the emperor will lead the way as the role model. They did not just expect the people to do the so-called filial piety, but they themselves would display the good virtue. One of this person is Wen Wang, Zhou Wen Wang. We're going to study a family tree first. Now, on your piece of paper, underneath the picture of Huang Xiang, we can start drawing the family tree. By the way, do you have any question? Any question? No? Okay. Now I'm going to bring you back to 2000, even before 2,500 years ago, close to 3,500 years ago, called a Zhou dynasty. The Zhou dynasty was founded around 11 BCE. That means 1100 BCE. That means before Christ was born. Okay, 1100公元前. Okay? And it lasts until 256 BCE. Approximately close to about 800 years. The longest dynasties in Chinese history. Okay. How was it founded? It was founded based on filial piety and good kinship. Now, to trace it, we draw two circles. Okay. The first one was King Tai, and he married Tai Jiang. And they gave birth to 3 children, 3 sons. Okay. One is Tai Bo, one is Zhong Yong, and one is Ji Li. This is the eldest son. This is the second son. This is the third son. Now, by right inheritance, the first son should become the next king. Okay? But when Ji Li's son was born, Ji Li married to Tai Ren. And this is Cháng. When Cháng was born, his grandfather loved him very much. He said, one day, this grandson will create the empire for me. Okay? So he said that. When Tai Bo heard that, he knew that his father would like to see his nephew to become the king of the future. But in order for him to be the king, Ji Chang's father has to be the next king. Otherwise, Ji Chang would not be able to be a future king. But since he was the eldest, he would have to be the next king. So he, together with Zhong, two of them, decided to do this. They used an opportunity to run away, using excuse that because father was ill, both of us are going to go out and pluck the medicine, get some medicine herbs for that. Okay? And as they ran out, they tattooed themselves. Once they tattoo themselves, can never become a king. So don't simply go and tattoo yourself. Tell your children, don't simply go and tattoo yourself. And the strange thing is, somebody told me that in Thailand, they have a tattoo studio on one side and the tattooing studio on the other. I mean, some people get tattooed and they regret about it and they decided to use laser and get rid of it, okay, later on. So they tattoo themselves and they cut off their hair. In the olden days, men cannot cut off their hair. It's considered as very unfilial, okay? And that's what they did. So they make sure that even though they were caught, they will never be able to become the king. So they ran away to what the present day call near the Shanghai. It's very far away from the native land. So because of this, Ji became the next king. And as he became the next king, Cháng became the later King Wen. Now this is called Rang. So the Yi Jia Rang. Okay. Because 这样让就让了一个国家出来. Because later on, Wen Wang married Tai Si. And give birth to at least 4 sons. Okay. But I heard he has 10 actually. But the two most famous one was Wu Wang, King Wu, and the other one, Zhou Gong. He gave birth to 2 very famous sons. This is the second son, and this is the 4th son. And together they defeated King Zhou, the last king of the Shang dynasty, and founded the Zhou dynasty. So because of this round, they created a dynasty who lasted the longest in Chinese history. Wen Wang, Wu Wang. And then Wu Wang later on married Yi Jiang, and gave birth to Cheng Wang, King Cheng. Now over here, because King Wu died quite early, so King Cheng was still very young. So King Wu bestowed Zhou Gong to help King Cheng to run the country, to run the empire. So Zhou Gong did that. Although he was good enough to be the king, he did not usurp the throne. He could easily have done that. He did not. Because of this tradition, later on, Zhou and their descendant from the Lu Empire was the only state during the spring and autumn period who did not assassinate their kings. Only in Luguo, because they follow Zhou Li, the propriety of Zhou. Being good to their brothers, being good filial to their parents, because of this. And even Zhou Gong, he could have easily just defeated or killed his nephew and get to become the king. He did not. He, in fact, helped him. And when King Wu was down with an illness, Zhou Gong went into the ancestral temple. He knelt down and prayed to the ancestors. He said, please, may my brother be good. I'm willing to let my own life be reduced. So he prayed to the heaven, let my life be reduced, but let my brother live longer. And he put down the little prayer inside the box in the ancestral temple. Now, years later, when King Wu became an adult, he started to listen to people who told him that Zhou Gong was actually plotting to overthrow him. And Zhou Gong knew about that. So Zhou Gong left the court, left the imperial court. He said, never mind, okay, you don't need to do anything, but I just live by myself, so you don't have to do anything, okay? Because he could easily imprison his uncle, which is not good, or kill his uncle. But Zhou Gong left on his own will. Then King Wu then was traveling along. Then suddenly he saw some bad omens. What are the bad omens? Suddenly there were winds, strong winds blowing and blowing in the field. And he saw the field suddenly almost topple over. And then there was thunder, and then there was lightning. Usually when these things happen, these are bad omens. That something must have been done wrong. Usually somebody was been wrongly accused. So he thought, who I have wrongly accused? 我冤枉过谁呢？我做错了什么事情呢？ So the king of the past always asked themselves. Okay. So he went to the ancestral temple and asked for instructions. Then he found this little prayer, inside the box, and there it was, his uncle, praying to shorten his uncle's own life in order his own father can live longer. He felt very bad about it. So he went back and asked his uncle to come back and help him to rule the dynasty. And Zhao dynasty became very prosperous under King Wu and then King Chung under the stewardship of Zhou Gong. Zhou Gong was the man who Confucius respected the most. That's why Zhou Gong said, even in my dream, I dreamt about talking to Zhou Gong, to discuss Zhou Li with Zhou Gong. But unfortunately, we distorted these stories. We say, 我去見周公啊，我去見周公是什麼意思啊？ You go to sleep. That means you doze off. That's what you mean you go to Zhou Gong. So our dream about Zhou Gong is different from Confucius' dream about Zhou Gong. So Confucius dreamed about Zhou Gong to discuss important things. We dream about Zhou Gong because we are very bored. Like maybe now you feel like go drifting to see Zhou Gong already. Right? So, 所以一国兴让啊，一家让，一国兴让 that these auspicious customs was passed down. And King Wen himself, how did he display filial piety? Now King Wen was very respectful of his parents. When Ji Li was taken ill, he would always go and make sure. Actually, one day he would go several times to ask, how are you, Dad? Are you feeling well? Have you eaten? So if he has not eaten, Ji Chang will become very worried. So he will ask, why is the food not good? Is it too hot or is it too cold? Okay? And then he would tell the chef next time to prepare, different dishes for his dad. Okay? So he would always attend to his father's needs. And if his father should not feel well that day, even King Wen will feel he's not well, even though he's the king. Then when his son, King Wu Wang, also did the same thing to Ji Chang as well. And King Wu, when King Wen fell ill one day, he actually would sit beside his dad with his imperial wardrobe on. He didn't even go and change his wardrobe because he was so worried about his father. Okay, so these two emperors as display 臣则省, 昏则定. Okay, these very good qualities of a filial son. And as a side information, King Wen was imprisoned by King Zhou. Okay? And when he was imprisoned, he improved and invented the Gua, 64卦. You know, the oracles? He was the one who renovated and created the 64卦爻, which you now use to, what do you call it? You tell fortune. But at that time, he didn't use it to tell fortune. It actually tell danger and safety. What is that is dangerous? What is that will keep you safe? Okay? In the end, you'll find that it all depends on yourself. How do you read the oracles? And a teacher told me it's not hard to do the oracles. 卜卦是很容易的. You know, you use some coins, you use a container, and you go and dōng, then it will tell you which oracle. But to read the oracles is difficult. You have to be very wise. You also have to know that person. For instance, the Kangxi Emperor of the Qing dynasty, once he wanted to wage a war against his enemy. So he did an oracle. The oracle said, if you wage the war, you'll be defeated. And in a very bad way. Now, if you were Kangxi, you normally wouldn't go to fight the war, right? You know what he said? No. The person who will be defeated is him, not me. And he went ahead and waged the war, and he won. 所以说，输的人不是我，输的人是他。So he was that confident. Okay? So when he was that confident, these things just doesn't work. Because in the Gua, it just means somebody will lose. Not exactly he will lose. So in a lot of these oracles of fortune telling, it's very ambiguous. Like my friend, he didn't know whether he should go into business or continue with the PhD degree. So we were visiting the Singapore Guanyin Miao. Apparently very, very accurate in the chén, the stick, the what do you call it, the prayer stick. So he went and he prayed and he got a stick. It says, white general, black general, they are equally in strength. Now, how do you interpret that? 白将军、黑将军，同样的，旗鼓相当。Okay, so it all depends on how we interpret, isn't it? So if 黑将军、白将军, that means he can either go to business or PhD. So who is going to decide that eventually? He himself. Even I can tell him that. And I did tell him that. I say, you are good at both things. You have to decide, for yourself what you want to do. So he later on decided on the business, okay? Which he did well, but he did even better in politics. So he is a very prominent member of parliament of the Canadian government. Right? So a lot of these things are very ambiguous, but it's up to you to interpret it again on yourself. That's why this Chinese fortune-telling thing eventually comes back to yourself, because you are the one who can change your destiny. There's a great book called Liao Fan, Liao Fan's 4 Lessons. If you want, actually, we can give them to you. It tells you how you change your destiny. There are only thousands of combinations about our, our birth date, okay, and your planetary chart. There are only thousands of ways. There's no way all of us will become emperors, or all of us will become queens, or all of us will become beggars, okay? So how do you interpret it? And if you can, upon interpret, how do you decide on what you're going to do? So if your faith said your profession will definitely have something to do with knife. It says here, okay? Your profession is going to have something to do with knife. So what are you going to do? You can be a chef, or a butcher, or a surgeon. So which one do you want? It can depend on you. My friend's daughter was always very sick when she was younger. So she went and do the, what you call purple planet, 紫微斗数. So she did that. And she found that her daughter's life is always associated with hospital and children. So she couldn't figure out why her daughter's life is always associated with hospital and children. So later on, her daughter chose to be a doctor and be a what doctor? Pediatrician. So all her life, she is attached to hospitals and have great affinity with children, which is not bad, isn't it? So don't be very taken, by bad fortune. No, you can change your destiny. You can change your bad fortune. And the book, Liao Fan Si Xun, is an excellent book telling you how come we have bad fortune, how can we change our bad fortune, and how can we get wealth, status, and even children. He was not supposed to have children. He was supposed to die, in his 50s. He was not supposed to have children. And later on, he lived, another, 20 years, and he had one son. And some say he had two sons. And how did he do that? Well, we have to reserve to future classes. So I'll end my session here. We'll see you next week. Thank you very much.